One of my biggest challenges as a leader was running events. You know, we as leaders, whether you're running an event or not, we as leaders have many things happening all at one time, and we need to be able to manage all those things and keep all the balls in the air and keep everything moving forward. So today I want to look at how running events has challenged my leadership. You know, leaders need to run events. Look, pretty much our whole organizations is an event, and whether it's actually a practical event or whether it's a once-off event, our businesses run and our lives run like an event. Life is an event. And so we as leaders need to be really good at managing events. One of my favorite businesses that I've run is my events management company. Yes, we had a national company that ran events all across the country for international brands. We used to launch products, we used to have modeling events, and we used to do entertainment style events as well. And it was a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of cool people, got to have a lot of really cool experiences. But when you're the person running it, it was stressful. And I realized now, looking back, that it actually helped mold my leadership skills now, because running events challenged my leadership. The first way in which running events challenged my leadership was smile. It's a simple thing, smile. I don't know about you, but I have one of those resting grumpy faces, so to speak. Well, it's actually not a resting face. It's actually my thinking face. My thinking face is actually more of an angry face. And so when you're running an event, there's a lot going on. You're trying to consider a lot of things and you're thinking all the time and you're dealing with challenges and problems. And I used to run around with an angry face, but it wasn't an angry face because I was angry. That was just my thinking face. I was loving it. I was actually having fun, but on the outside, I was projecting that I was angry. And what a lot of people used to say to me is they're like, "Oh, we kind of avoid you, Craig, because you look angry, or we're afraid to bring things to you, especially problems, because you project so much of your emotions on your face." And my girlfriend at the time gave me this really, really valuable advice. She said, "Craig, smile." And so what I used to do before every one of my events, I would write on the back of my hand with a big, thick marker, a big smiley face. Why? Because it was next to my watch, and running events, you're always looking at your watch. And so every time I looked at my watch to check what the time was, to see what needed to happen at that time, I saw this big smiley face and it reminded me to smile. And everyone said that they noticed a massive change in me. Now, my attitude didn't change. My behavior didn't change. The events didn't change. It was just a simple fact of changing my face, of actually smiling, that it actually impacted everyone around me. And I realized that in leadership, what we are projecting as leaders, our team feels. They run off our energy. They vibe off our energy. What we're putting out is what they pick up. And usually as leaders, we're not usually putting out the best energy because we're dealing with problems. We're putting out fires. We're thinking about challenges or whatever. And so we're constantly projecting problems. And so what is our team going to reflect back to us? They're going to reflect problems. So let me encourage you, as a leader, make sure you know what you're projecting in your energy so that you can put the right energy out to your team. The second way in which running events has challenged my leadership is there's many moving parts. Now, I'm sure you've been involved with events and you know that there's many, many, many things that all need to happen and that it all needs to happen like clockwork. You've got people preparing. Maybe there's people doing hair and makeup out the back. Maybe you've got a TV crew that are running. Maybe you've got sound and lighting that need to happen. Maybe you've got some artists that are coming in. Maybe you've got guests that are coming and you have to manage them properly. And so you have all these moving parts that have to happen all succinctly, all perfectly timed with each other. And so one of the ways in which my leadership was challenged while running events was making sure I was able to manage juggling many balls. As leaders, the better leader we become, or the bigger our organization grows, the more balls we will seemingly have in the air, the more moving parts you will actually have. So as your leadership develops, you too will actually be having more and more things that you're needing to oversee. And the biggest thing I learned about this while running my events was I can't do everything. When I first started running events, I'm really good. I'm really detail oriented. I see all the details and everything. And so I used to run around, do everything in my own events, and they were amazing. But my events could only be a certain size, and I struggled to be able to grow them to be bigger events. But once I got team on and started to stop micromanaging, because I did for a while. I was trying to be in everything, but I realized I was exhausted. I was making mistakes because I was tired and I was missing things. So what I learned was I have to be over everything, not in everything. And so you as a leader too need to be over everything in your organization, not in everything. Don't get caught up in the weeds. Don't get caught up in the finer detail of things. You got to make sure that you have your team, you delegate properly to your team, and you must have faith or trust in those teams to be able to execute on their job properly. Will they do it as good as you? Maybe not, but I guarantee they'll be able to do it better than you if you drop the ball on one thing because you're caught up in the weeds in another thing. So one of the things that I learned in running events that really challenged my leadership was I have to be over everything, but not in everything. And I mentioned trusting your team. You have to have trust or faith in your team. If you can't delegate properly, if you can't trust your team, then you can't employ that team, or you can't be a leader. If you can't find yourself to be able to trust people to do their job, then you yourself cannot be an effective leader. Now, you're probably thinking, how do I do that? One of the key ways to do that is make sure you have KPIs. Make sure there is accountability, because you can hold people accountable to doing things, making sure that they've got KPIs. Key performance indicators, making sure they know what their targets are, make sure they know what they need to do by what time. And as long as you're holding them accountable to that, that is you being over everything, not in everything. And that's the key way in which I've found to be able to manage many moving parts as a leader. And the third way in which running events has challenged my leadership is preparation. Yes, I'm one of those people that's really good at thinking on my feet. And so I can step into a situation and I can run it amazingly myself. However, as I was building a team, I couldn't rely on my team to be able to have that same skill set. I couldn't rely on my team to be able to follow my plan if I hadn't planned it. And you know the saying, proper planning prevents poor performance. You know that saying, right? It's so true. You have to prepare. The more you prepare, the less effort it is to actually do the event. The more time I would spend with my events, like some of my events, I would be charging in almost 6 figures to run an event that was maybe a couple of days long, or maybe only even a day long or something. But it's because I took like up to a year sometimes to plan and prepare for a particular event. I had thought through every single scenario. I had all the spreadsheets and the amount of detail I had on the spreadsheets. I had mud maps. I had graphics. I had photos and everything laid out so that I could literally just hand that plan over. I spoke about delegating before, that I could hand it over properly and delegate it to anyone. Almost a monkey could do any role. Obviously, there's skills that needed to be in each role, but you know what I'm saying. The more you can plan and prepare as a leader, the easier it is for your team. And so because I spent so long in preparing, now, I had a lot of clients come to me and they're like, we've got an event and how much is it? And I tell them how much and they're like, oh, just for a couple of days. And I'd explain to them how much I spent in preparation. They saw the value in that because they're like, oh yeah, well, we want the event to run well. And so I want to invest in you to be able to spend the time to prepare for it properly. So spend the time to plan it out. Plan out every possible scenario. Think of everything that could possibly go wrong and overcome each challenge. Think of what if someone doesn't turn up on time? Well, I can move that person to there. I can do this thing. Well, if people don't turn up on time, maybe what I should do is I should be calling everyone and texting everyone the day before, an hour before, things like that. So I used to have follow-up strategies with my team to make sure that they were on time and making sure that they were doing things. And things happened, and we were able to overcome those because we had a plan. Now, did unforeseen things happen? Yes, but because I had so many things planned and I wasn't caught in the weeds, I was over everything, I was able to overcome the challenges that faced me because I had the time, the energy, and the focus to be able to do that rather than me running around frantically. So, as a leader, we have to run events, whether it be the event of our organization, the event of just the day-to-days of our office, or we may actually be running a proper event. Either way, we need to make sure that we smile. Make sure the energy that you're projecting is a positive energy that is going to uplift and encourage your team. Number 2, make sure you're over everything, not in everything, so you don't get caught up in the weeds. And number 3, make sure you plan for every possible scenario, so you are setting your team up for success, and then your team will love working with you. Hope that's helped you. If you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Maybe put down in the comments and share some disastrous experiences you've had at events that you've been running. And hey, if you've loved this kind of content and want to see more, consider subscribing to our channel.